a lot of Manchester United fans will expect us to react to what happened at Old Trafford yesterday. Another defeat. That's now 5 home defeats already for Ruben Amorim. He made some curious decisions with the selections, Kobbie Mainoo playing through the middle, leaving the strikers on the bench. I mean, I know you've touched on a lot of this so far already, but every week when you think, okay, well that's it, bottomed out, it seems to get worse. What's he trying to do there?
I mean, the only thing I can think he's doing is one of two things. Experiment to the point whereby he's just trying to find a solution that works, that he likes in the system that he wants to play. Or he doesn't like the strikers that he's got. I mean, I have to say, when I saw Kobbie Mainoo up front yesterday, I thought Fernandes was going to play as that in that position or something. You know, Garnacho might play up front and Fernandes to the right. When I saw Kobbie Mainoo as a centre forward or dropping in, I thought, it's okay that you'll get control of the game. A little bit of what I've talked about here. You can get decent football and it can con you. It can kid you, this decent football, where you're watching nice passes outside the box up to the final third. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net. It's about getting bodies in the box. It's about getting bodies across defenders and making sure that you're really creating chances. And that's not going to happen that much. Everything has to be perfect with Kobbie Mainoo up front and Garnacho and Ahmad. You've got 3 quite lightweight players, really talented, good players, but everything has to be absolutely perfect. And I'm just thinking about it from a Crystal Palace point of view. If I'm a defender, I'm thinking, I fancy this, I can out-muscle these. You know, they're sharp, but they're not rapid, quick. There's no real goal scorers there amongst them. I know they can chip in, and I'm thinking, we've got a chance here. So I'm seeing that team sheet, I'm thinking, we've got a chance. Now, I'm not saying that if they saw Højlund up front, all of a sudden they'd be starting to panic, but they'd be thinking, well, at least they've got a physical presence, they've got a battle. Xerxes, a big lad, and I'm not saying they're brilliant, these players. I just felt that when I saw that team yesterday, I thought if I was Crystal Palace, I'd be fancying it. And I was speaking to Lee Dixon in the truck watching it, and I'd be like, I'd be surprised if Crystal Palace don't score a couple of goals. And I can't see how United are going to score. Where's it going to come from? I think changes are going to have to be made. So yeah, there are some decisions and there are some selection choices that you look at and think, you know, the Casemiro and Eriksen one the other week when we all sort of, I think Xerxes after 30 minutes and he had to change that midfield. I think he brought Mainoo on. There's sometimes when you see a team, it doesn't look right. If it doesn't look right, it quite often isn't right, and it doesn't surprise you. And I thought it would get better when Ruben Amorim came in. I thought that the enthusiasm of him and then the new system, I thought they'd buy into it, the players, and we'd see a bounce. We're seeing the absolute opposite. It's got a lot worse, and that's surprising.
Where does this end? I mean, is it going to be defeat after defeat and a sort of effectively the house gets burned down till the end of the season and then build again? I mean, what?
Well, they've not gone in. I mean, they've bought the left back, which I think that in the system that Amorim wants to play, wing backs are absolutely critical. You have to have energy and quality in those wide areas. You know, wing back is a different position completely to wing and to full back. You have to be good at both. So they've brought the boy Dorgu in, I think, who'll play obviously on that left side. Need that balance. They've obviously got Dalu or Mazraoui playing there, which is not ideal because they're always having to cut back on the right foot. But you're absolutely right. There's going to be a lot more pain, I think, towards the end of the season. And it is going to be damaging because they're obviously going to stick with Ruben Amorim. But the more you lose, the more difficult it is for the manager to convince the players of the idea. You know, the idea that he talked about in the very early days, I will not change my idea. You need the players to buy into that. And if they keep losing with it, and then they keep getting criticised with it, and the spotlight comes on them more, and the fans are leaving unhappy. 75,000 leave, or 72,000 leave yesterday, 3,000 left, absolutely delirious, I'm sure. But 72,000 fans are walking out the stadium having not conceded, not scored a goal. You've lost 2-0 to Palace, and it's that, you know, that feeling of, and that will create a, you can't keep losing. You just can't. I mean, it will depress the thoughts of the players to a point whereby they'll start to lose faith in the idea, and it'll damage.
What gives?
Well, it'll damage you for the start of next. I don't know. He has to do something. He has
if
to.
He's not going to change.
He said
he won't
that,
change his approach.
We can't change his approach now because he's died in the ditch on it, and rightly so. He said, you know, I think he's lost more games at Manchester United since he's come than he lost in the last 75 at Sporting Lisbon. I think.
Yeah.
I read that stat earlier, which is just absolutely alarming. So he will not be enjoying this. But I think he's got to simplify it a little bit. Whilst he might not like Højlund, he might not think Xerxes great, and might not like other players. He's got to pick the players that he has, stick with them, They're the players that he's been served. He knew that Manchester United were not going to be prolific in the transfer window in January. Everyone knew that when he came in. It was quite clear. I think I asked him in that first interview, I said, you're going to have to basically have these players for the rest of the season. Now, he's obviously lost Rashford. He's now got obviously a left wing back in, so he might think he's slightly better off. But it looked yesterday like Lisandro Martinez might have picked up a bad one when he sort of got stretchered off, and that's obviously an important player for them. He's not been playing brilliantly, but he's a personality in that left channel. So you're absolutely right. It can't keep going on as it is. They have to somehow start to play better, but where's it coming from? Because I have to say at this moment in time, it's a sorry situation, a very sorry situation when you watch United play.
Okay, well, I think that's probably
we'll finish on that, shall we?
We'll finish on that cheery note, shall we?
Big week ahead. I'm up to Newcastle on Wednesday evening, Newcastle Arsenal, so it should be a big atmosphere at St James's Park, and then obviously Tottenham Liverpool's a big game on Thursday as well.
That's huge for Arsenal, isn't it? Whether they can turn that round. I mean, everyone's talking about the Manchester City game, defining that this new character, this new strength they've got. But if they can come back there, that's going to stand them in great stead, isn't it?
It is, and I actually look at all the 4 managers who are in charge of these teams, and I feel like it's important for all of them, this trophy. You know, Tottenham for obvious reasons, Newcastle for obvious reasons, but then Arteta hasn't won a trophy for a number of years, and it's Arne Slot's first season. And if he can go and win that Carabao Cup and then obviously go and win the title, it'd be an amazing first season. But you're right, for Arsenal, you say Arsenal it's important for it absolutely is, because Arsenal need to win trophies. There's no doubt Mikel Arteta's built a fantastic team, but they have to try and pick up cups if they're not going to win the league. You can't always win the league, and they're in the contention for it this season. They're up against it with Liverpool, but they're in contention. They're there. They're playing well. They're on a good run. And so, but I think it'll be difficult. I think Eddie Howe will feel like it's his moment. The Newcastle players, the Newcastle fans, they'll feel like it's their moment to get to a final again, and can they go one step further? And I think for Tottenham, Ange Postecoglou's almost, I won't say promised a trophy this season, but he's certainly said, I win trophies in my second season, which he's saying we're going to do it. And it's a huge game for all clubs this week. It's a really important set of Carabao Cup semi-finals. I'm looking forward to those.
And that's much more of a high to finish on.
It
well
is.
Done. Nicely turned around.
It absolutely is. Well done.
Talking about Manchester United, Marcus Rashford moved to Aston Villa. What did you make of that loan move?
I think it was needed. Obviously, after the comments of the manager in the last couple of weeks, there was no way back. You can imagine Marcus will have been needing to get out as well, just to play football and sort of restart and relaunch his career again. It's obviously been disappointing and difficult for him in the last 6 to 12 months. I think that he's going to a very good team, a team that are currently better than Manchester United. He's going to a great club, and he's going to a club in many competitions, but also, more importantly, he's going to work under a manager I think will give him real instruction. And I think at this period in his career, Marcus needs instruction. I think just look at the style of play he's played in the last few years. I think it's not been great. I mean, Manchester United's performances haven't been great, and I think what he now needs is that detail in his game, and I think that Unai Emery will definitely give him that.
Do you think there's any way back for him at United?
Who knows? I mean, it looks like it might be difficult under Ruben Amorim, because he's planted his flag in the ground on Marcus Rashford by what he said, and I can imagine Marcus is disappointed with that, and vice versa with maybe the standards that he keeps referring to. So, but don't rule anything out. I mean, if Marcus Rashford goes and tears it up at Aston Villa, or the other way is that he doesn't do well at all, and obviously Manchester United then end up with him back. So it could happen that he's back at Manchester United, but I think the ideal situation here would be that Marcus goes and thrives, does brilliantly well. That would suit Marcus, obviously, and it'll suit Manchester United, that maybe then he can move on. But it's sad. It is a sad thing for me, because of the fact that I do feel that Marcus Rashford has the talent to play for United.
If you look at the transfer window as a whole for United, do you think they're better now or worse off now than they were at the beginning? Because the only players who've come in are Dorgu, the left back from Lecce, and a young centre back, Aidan Heaven from Arsenal, but it looks like he's one for the future.
I think probably neutral. I mean, Marcus wasn't playing anyway, so it's probably should take him out of the equation. I mean, the worst thing that could happen, it looked like a bad one, didn't it, yesterday for Lisandro Martinez? I mean, obviously that would be a big loss. They needed a left wing back. I mean, that's a problem position for them. They haven't got any balance on that side of the pitch. But I think everyone knew, when Ruben Amorim took the job, he knew there wasn't a massive pot of money there in January. Everyone knew that United was struggling to be able to sort of maintain their financial position. And I think it'll be a case of getting to the summer before they reinvest. I mean, I've been disappointed. I thought the club would do better and the team would do better since Ruben Amorim's come in. I really did. I thought the change of system, change of voice, a bit of enthusiasm, obviously, which he's got, and energy in his interviews, but it hasn't transmitted over onto the pitch at all. In fact, it's a lot worse.
We could talk about United all night, but let's not. Tottenham bringing in Matthias Tell, it looks like. There's been lots of talk that players don't want to go to Tottenham. They've been rejected by players, apparently. We haven't had that confirmed. But Tottenham's still a big draw, isn't it, with that stadium and that training ground and the fact that they're in London?
I think it's a huge draw, Tottenham. Not just of the stadium and the training ground, which everyone always points towards, including myself, but the manager. You know, the style of football. I know that they're losing games at this moment in time and it's painful. Obviously, they won at the weekend, but you know, I think it's a thrilling style of play that they have. And to go and play in that team, particularly if you're a forward, they create chances. They play the ball forward quickly. They do everything that you would want in an attacking team. They're obviously not getting the right results, and that's causing a big problem for Ange Postecoglou. But you know, I think I'm glad Tell's gone there. Initially, probably the rumour is he turned it down. He flirted maybe with a few other clubs who didn't want to maybe pay the loan fees and the other sort of knock-ons. And the fact that maybe they couldn't lock down the option to buy in the summer was another major option for major factor for clubs as well. But I'm glad Tottenham have got him. I'm glad Ange Postecoglou's got a player that can improve them. You know, they've got a big couple of weeks coming up.
And what kind of message do you think it sends out that Spurs can get a player like Matthias Tell? Because this guy, you know, people were talking about him being the new Kylian Mbappe. He's been at Bayern Munich, Manchester United were interested, Chelsea were interested. So many big clubs have been after him. But even though apparently he didn't fancy Spurs, he was on a private jet to Farnborough Airport and he's having a medical as we speak.
Well, sometimes players can maybe like the idea of playing for another club, but the most important thing is that they play football. And that's what Tottenham will promise him. And the most important thing for a young player is that they get games under the belt and in the bank at a high level. And Tottenham's a great football club with an amazing stadium, an amazing fan base. And they've got some big games coming up in this next few weeks, and he can contribute towards that. And you know, I know he's at Bayern Munich, which is a fantastic club as well. But if you're not playing, you've got to get out of there and go and do your stuff.
Marcus Rashford has gone to Aston Villa on loan. Does that work for everybody?
I think it's a good move for Marcus Rashford. There was talk of, you know, some of the biggest clubs in Europe. I never saw that, but there's no doubt Aston Villa are one of the biggest clubs in this country. They've got a fantastic manager, and Unai Emery does get the best out of players more often than not when you look through his managerial career. So I think it's a decent move. I think it's a good move for Villa as well, because I think it was always a problem when they had Duran and Watkins, because they can both only play centre forward. Now and again, Watkins could play wide, but it wasn't really, you know, his strongest suit. So it was always going to be a problem. One of them had to go. I think I said a couple of weeks ago, John Duran, you know, they should sell him and get the money in. Rashford gives you the option that he is a player who can play through the middle and to the left, so he can play with Watkins. And if Watkins is out injured, as it looks like he may be, on the back of what happened at Wolves at the weekend, Marcus Rashford might get a go through the middle as well. So he gives the Unai Emery and the Aston Villa team more options, and also there's going to be more football for him to play, as I said, because there was no chance he was going to get that at Manchester United.
Is this the last chance saloon for Rashford?
We say that a lot, but footballers, you know, they always seem to get, you know, a second chance. Certainly someone who's had, or certainly has the pedigree of Marcus Rashford. He's definitely shown at times throughout his career he's got great ability. He just hasn't shown it enough. And like all managers, Unai Emery will have that ego, that he'll believe that he's the man who will, you know, unlock that, not so much potential now with his age, but certainly get Marcus Rashford back to his best.
Now, Matthias Tell said no to Tottenham on Friday. On Monday, he's about to sign for Spurs, having said, I'd prefer to go to United or Arsenal. Do you think the Spurs fans will have that?
Well, they'll have to. It doesn't look like they're going to have too many options. But I think, to be fair to the lads, if you're getting the option, you know, if Arsenal and Manchester United were there, you'd probably pick those clubs ahead of Tottenham. So I could understand that. I think the fact that Tottenham looks like they may be getting him on loan now, so I think that's a really good deal for both teams. You know, he can have a look at Tottenham. Tottenham can have a look at him because, you know, we're talking about a young player with potential, but hasn't played too much football at all at Bayern Munich. So if he settles in well at Tottenham, he'll definitely get lots of chances. They create chances, they score goals. That, for me, one of the most exciting teams in the league. So I actually think this move works for player and the club, because I always think bringing someone in January, he's obviously fell out of favour a little bit at Bayern Munich, or he's not getting the minutes that he would like. So I think this works for everybody.
Ruben Amorim's first transfer window in charge of Manchester United comes to an end. 30 million spent on Patrick Dorgu and Aidan Heaven also arrived, but no forward signed despite Leon Bailey, Mathis Tell and Christopher Nkunku all being linked. Goal scoring has been a persistent problem this season for a United side which sits just 13th in the Premier League as the January window shuts. They have scored just 28 goals in 24 Premier League matches this season to a per 90 average of 1.17, only Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton and Everton average less. But United end the window with fewer attacking options than they began with. Anthony and Marcus Rashford have departed while only two defenders, Denmark international Patrick Dorgu and Arsenal prospect Aidan Heaven, have arrived. Links to Randall Colomwani, Christopher Nkunku, Mathis Tell and Leon Bailey, as well as many more, signal United are aware of their need for reinforcements up front. So why didn't United make any attacking signings? United were not prepared to be reckless or take expensive risks in a window known to be difficult to do business in, explained Sky Sports' Melissa Reddy. The club will now have more scope to spend in the summer when they feel there are better opportunities to sign players that fit into their long-term plans. United are understood to be working within very tight financial constraints and PSR limits. The club were unwilling to make signings they felt could sacrifice their long-term approach with expensive, short-term deals. United want to maintain financial discipline as they make widespread changes around the club and continue to examine options to reduce costs and raise revenues. They believe this will create more money to invest into the team, which means United will just have to muddle on for the rest of the season with fewer attacking options than they had a month ago. So is the squad weaker now than at the start of January? Marcus Rashford wasn't playing anyway, argued Sky Sports' Gary Neville. They needed a left-back as they don't have any balance on that side of the pitch. Amorim knew there wasn't a pot of money there when taking the job and everyone knew United's financial position. They'll get to the summer and then reinvest. But the summer is a long way away and United are struggling. I thought the team would do better when Amorim came in, added Neville. The change of system and a different voice with his enthusiasm would help, but it's got a lot worse. Some long months at Old Trafford may still await.